Welcome back, art students. Okay, so we're going to continue this drawing of this Ojibwe Birchbark Canoe, and we're going to go ahead here and start adding a little bit more detail. Okay, so we have here this line here, this line here, and right about here, we're going to draw just a little break in the canoe that kind of comes like this. All right, little break in the canoe here. Not intentionally drawing this as a broken canoe. Again, we're drawing this canoe to show all the parts of the Birchbark Canoe. Okay, so we're gonna separate little chunks here of the actual birch bark. So to do that, right about here, we're gonna draw a line that comes down about this far. We're gonna draw a line that comes down about this far. And we'll draw a line coming down about this far. And we'll draw a line coming down about this far. Okay? Now, these areas that we just drew, this is where there would be stitching. They would actually sew together these different parts of the birch bark. So we'll put little stitch marks in here to indicate that this is where they would sew the pieces of birch bark together, like that, okay? It's very delicate work, and then also there's more stitching that would come and would run along this direction, and it kind of ran along right here, and we would come along right here, like this. And then again, we're gonna draw some little stitching lines that run along those edges to really show this is where they would stitch. Alright. Doing good. There we go. Also, on the inside of our canoe here, there were the ribs. Okay, now the ribs would come from here and they would come down like this, and they would slightly bend. Now for the ribs, the reason why they call them ribs is because it kind of reminds you of like human ribs, or ribs, quite literally. So that is where they get their name, and they would run all along the canoe, the whole length of the canoe. And the ribs, I'm going to start showing right here, they actually would curve down and they come back up like this. Okay, so you can kind of see they have that U shape in there. And I'm going to go ahead and show you even closer. They come down and then they would come right up to about here. Now this piece here would usually ride right along here, so we're going to pretend that's there. Again, we're just showing how this would look if it were spliced open so that people could understand the construction of a birchbark canoe. Okay, so these are the ribs that we just drew. Then, the other boards that go this direction, those are called the planks. Okay, so all of the planks would go this way. So you can draw in some planks. And every now and then there would be planks that would need to be, show separation of your planks. And down here in the bottom we can show some planks that come this direction. On the floor there's planks. Okay. Now this part right here, That's called the inwale. Again, we'll title all of these parts here towards the end, okay? But there's little pegs. So I'm going to draw little circles here to indicate all of the little pegs. There's tons and tons of pegs, like every 2 inches along the whole thing. There were pegs, so you can draw a whole bunch of these tiny little circles to show you the pegs. Okay, I'm going to make this look a little bit more like natural wood, just going to give it a little bit of detail, some texture in there. Okay, doing good. Now up here, there was a lot of stitching. Up here, there's a lot of stitching over here involved. In fact, there's so much stitching here and there and everywhere. There's stitching right here that kind of sews all of this part together, and doing so kind of like every maybe 5 to 6 inches or so up the length of the canoe here. And they would use, what they would use is the tree's roots, actually, and they would heat them up very hot in some boiling water, and then that would make them more flexible and more malleable, and yet they would be very sturdy and strong. So it's kind of cool that they used, for the stitches here, they would sew together using tree roots. Okay. In the next video, actually let's do a little bit more stitching over here. And we can do a little bit more of some, actually let's do a fun decorative like zigzag pattern up here. They did decorate them to some extent a little bit. Cool. All right. I think we got all the parts in there. So now in the next video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start pointing and titling where all the parts of this birch bark canoe is, okay? I'll see you in the next video.